Typically I should start off with the original entrance that I do, but I'm not going to do that tonight. First off, congratulations to Indiana on the national championship against Miami. We will be covering that tomorrow here on Sports Talk Live. But typical Bears football, always finding ways to lose games that they should win and giving games away late. Now, they're not going to be in the NFC Championship game. It's going to be the Rams and the Seahawks and the Patriots and the Broncos because the Bears magically ran out of pixie dust. There was a term back in the day. It was called magic pixie dust, and it used to be for the St. Louis Cardinals in Major League Baseball. They used to always have magic pixie dust, and the Bears this year had like 8 comeback wins, but this one, nope. They didn't do it because Caleb Williams magically threw a ball he should not have thrown into basically pass coverage, and it didn't go through. So the Bears didn't win, and they let the Rams go down and kick the field goal, and that's the end of the season. But I'm not too surprised by it, honestly, because first off, I didn't expect this team to go to the Super Bowl. I never thought that at all. I didn't honestly think they would get out of the wild card round against the Packers. I thought they would find a way to lose. So I'm not too overly disappointed with the result because when you're the Chicago Bears, this is what you come to expect from them. Typical disappointment. Now, I do want to say, folks, thank you for all the views that you guys have been getting. I did post a video up on Twitch earlier, but I think that it wasn't public, so I'm going to have to redo it tomorrow, which I will do, so that way everybody can see it. I do not mind redoing it. So stop by and say hello on there to me. Tomorrow we will be doing the National Championship review on Twitch and on YouTube, as well as talking about the new NCAA basketball poll, but that's for tomorrow. But still, typical Bears, always let's just get right into the game here. See, I know you probably think by my voice that I'm annoyed by it, but honestly, at this point, I'm amused as a Bears fan. They're always doing this, always finding ways to lose games that they should win. They lost 20-17 at home, which is kind of strange to think about that they had a home game when they should have been on the road. But because they won the division, they got the second seed, so they got a home game, even though they should have been at the Rams. So it was a competitive game. Although, you wouldn't have known in the very beginning of the game because the Bears looked lifeless, like they typically do, always looking lifeless there at the beginning. And then they scored 10 points in the second quarter to tie it up, which was good. And, you started to think, hey, maybe this team could actually do something. Then they had the third quarter where no team was able to score. And then the fourth quarter, both teams got 7 points. So the game had to go into overtime because the Bears miraculously tied the game up late. And then overtime, they let the Rams just go down the field, kick a field goal, and the game was over. So, Matthew Stafford, once again, 20 for 42, 258 yards. Caleb Williams was 23 for 42, 257 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. And, yeah, if he only had one less interception, Bears probably would have moved on to the NFC title game for the first time since, I think, 2010 when they lost to the Packers. They went to the Super Bowl against the Steelers. But, yeah, Matthew Stafford's a guy. And for all those people who talk about Ben Johnson, I think Ben Johnson, his first year, I think he did a very good job with his team. Now, granted, they had 8 comeback wins. So, honestly, I didn't really know what to expect just because when you have 8 comeback wins that you shouldn't have, take that out. I think you have maybe like 4 or 5 wins. So, I really, I want to be mad, but I'm not because this is about what I expected. And you look at next year's schedule, which they announced, it's the same with home and away games in the conference. Detroit, Green Bay, Minnesota, they play the NFC South teams. So Saints, Buccaneers, Falcons, Panthers. Then they have the Eagles and the Seahawks. Then the interconference opponents of the AFC East. So Patriots, Jets, Bills, and Dolphins. They're not going to beat the Patriots. And then the interconference is the Jacksonville Jaguars. But yeah, it was a strange season. I might do a more in-depth seasonal review for them. Probably tomorrow as well. I can look at doing that. But yeah, first playoff booth since 2020. And do I have any faith? Sorry about that. My ESPN tracker went off here. But yeah, this was a strange season. Started off 0-2, and you think, oh man, well, there goes the whole season. Because, they lost to the Vikings, and then they got blown out by the Lions. Then they beat the Cowboys, and they beat the Raiders on a comeback. They beat the Redskins. Yes, I still call them the Redskins. They beat the Redskins on a comeback, too. The Saints, they won. They lost to the Ravens. Of course they did. Then they magically won a lot of these games here. The Bengals, 47-42, classic game. Giants in a comeback win, 24-20, 19-17 against the Vikings. Steelers, 31-28. Eagles, 24-15. All these games were damn impressive. Lost to the Packers. Probably should have won that game, because if they did, they would have been 12-3. And then beat the Browns, of course, beat the Packers in overtime, lost to the 49ers in a close game, who ended up themselves getting blown out blown out by the I think it was the Seahawks. Yeah, they got blown out by the Seahawks in their game, so can't be too surprised by that. Yeah, it was 6-41. They got blown out. They beat the Eagles in the wild card game, but yeah. And I think at one point you get to see Tyson Bagent play. Why is Tyson Bagent a quarterback? I don't know, but it's because the Bears won't get anybody else. Yeah, like I said, what a strange season. But the game against the Rams, typical Bears, could have won the game, didn't want to win. Snatched defeat from the jaws of victory like they always do. And, it's the life of a Bears fan for you. You win games, you lose more games than you win. And when it comes to the playoffs, it all falls apart because, the Bears don't have an offense. They refuse to play the defense because it's Bears football. And that's not what we do. Well, you hired for the first time a head coach with offensive experience. You always had defensive-minded head coaches. Finally, you got one in Ben Johnson, but with how bipolar this team has been, what makes me think that next season is going to be any better? For all I know, they could finish like 4-12 and be right back in the basement of the NFC North again. So show me that this is a long-term commitment and that you're committed to building a champion. I know people on ESPN say, "Oh my God, Bears could win the Super Bowl in 3 years." Yeah, they're not winning the Super Bowl in 3 years. This year for the Super Bowl, if you want to know the truth, I think it's going to be the Patriots over the Seahawks. Because I like Drake May, and I will cover the NFC and AFC championship games when we get there next week. But that's what I think it's going to be. And, yeah, could have been the Bears in the championship game at least. Would have gotten blown out anyway, no matter who they played. But, at least, it could have been a Bears Seahawks and would have lost. But at least I would have gotten to see my team in the NFC title game for the first time in a while. But, hey. At least we're doing better than the Cowboys. But, yeah, don't really have too much else to say. Game was a competitive game. We played well, and in the end, we just lost because, of course, we did. So, that's all I got for you this time. But a little bit longer video here than normal. I hope everybody is having a great day, and I appreciate y'all supporting me, watching the videos. I try to get them out now more on a consistent basis. So, thanks for sticking with me. We'll be back tomorrow to cover the national championship game. It was a classic between Indiana and Miami. And then we're also going to be over on Twitch for a little while. And slowly getting back in the grind of things. Hopefully to see continued growth on both channels. And like I said, eventually I do plan to expand this out to other platforms of like games and probably at some point news, not political stuff, but like science news and all of that, like current event stuff. That's what I want to do someday. Just make this like a general channel, but we'll get there at some point. Thanks for joining me, and yeah, we got a lot to look forward to here coming up. Uh, and also, too, tomorrow we will be covering Duke basketball because they did play a couple of days ago. I want to get that in because I'd promised that we would get there, so we're going to do that. Um, but yeah, thanks for sticking with me, and I'll see you folks soon.